new sport was created by people who are like, I'm not going to compete. I'm just going to create. And so no matter if you're not good at basketball, I'm good at tennis. So I created tennis, you know what I mean? And this is how these things get started, you know? This is how in the Olympics, they have to bring a new sport in because somebody's like, no, I'm not good at that, but I'm good at this. And I realized always create your own sport. You know what I mean? It's wild because if you're always on someone else's playing field and you're always playing the game and the rules that they set, you'll never win. You know, the Beastie Boys have a song where they say, I play no game that I can't win. And I love that thing. You got to set yourself up to play the game that you can win every time.
I feel like another way that you changed the game was when it came to marketing and YouTube and those Old Spice commercials. I couldn't believe some of the things that you did in those videos. And I heard this story, Terry, that you were actually on set and you guys were coming up with new ideas for these Old Spice commercials. And you're like signing the contracts in real time for new commercials to shoot.
First, that is exactly what happened. This is what's so nuts.
Real quick, before we get to the rest of the interview, one thing that struck me about my conversation with Terry, both on and off the camera, is how ahead of his time he is, especially when it comes to creating content and embracing new technology like AI. But if you're like me, you don't just want to use AI to make mediocre content. You want to make it great. And that's why I recommend checking out this free guide from today's sponsor, HubSpot, on how to use generative AI to scale your content. And what I really love about this guide is that it gives some really great practical tips on how to write specific prompts to get better results using AI tools. This guide also answers questions that most people overlook, like how do you avoid plagiarism if your content is generated by AI? And does Google penalize AI content and more? So check out the link below to get this free guide from HubSpot, which is today's sponsor. And now let's get back to it.
You know, you got to understand, when I started doing Old Spice, at the time, my managers, agents, everyone was like, it's very dangerous. Because if you do commercials, you'll get typecast, you'll be stuck in commercials. And at the time, no big stars were doing commercials because they were like, that's beneath me. It was almost like, okay, there's this hierarchy. There's movies, there's television, and then there's commercials, and then below that, there's internet. You know what I mean? That was like, listen, that hierarchy was there. And they were like, oh, you're going to do this commercial? And people look at you like, oh. But I said, dude, you remember the thing that I thought might work against me was the best thing that ever happened for me, because I did not have some acting coach or acting teacher or some acting school that was back there like, we don't do that, Terry. I'm free play land. I'm like, I'm an old football player. I don't care. And then I was like, man, this is a great opportunity. I don't see a problem. And so I did it. And I remember we were on set and I was doing this crazy stuff. And then my pecs started popping. They were like, wait, that's a whole nother spot, you know? And they started coming up with stuff. I'll never forget. We did the Block commercial when I was like, Block. They were like, he's willing to do this stuff. Because I was it was like we were simpatico. We were hitting on every level. And I saw no difference between entertainment and marketing. No difference. In fact, commercials can be just as entertaining as a movie, as a television show, as anything you could enjoy, as a great book. Everything is entertainment, everything. And when it's funny, because it really hit me when people were watching all the Old Spice commercials for a half hour straight, and they were watching them as entertainment. And I realized this is the way.
Terry, you mentioned embracing new mediums, and I think you're always on the cutting edge of that. I wanted to share a moment from America's Got Talent, which you host, which just blew me away. And I think the impact of this for entertainment and media is going to be groundbreaking.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. Metaphysic. Groundbreaking. This is so good, John. That was scary.
Explain that clip.
Okay. First of all, this group called Metaphysic had the ability to create an AI version of any person, any celebrity. They ended up going to the finals by bringing Elvis back to sing live at the finals, which was crazy. And it was indistinguishable from real life. They do the Tom Cruise deep fake. They do so many other things. And I said, this is the future, man. They went all the way to the finals. Like, they almost made it, but it changed the game. I was like, this is the future. In fact, I would love, and I'm an early adopter, but I would love, and I've scanned my whole body several times, but when I'm long gone, to still be able to do performances literally for my grandkids in other projects and other movies and other things, when I am already I could be 50 years gone, but people will still see a new Terry Crews project. That's the dream. That, for me, I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? Go ahead, you got it. And these guys with this technology and what AI has done, I've already invested in stuff. We actually have a full-fledged digital copy of Carnegie Hall that I teamed up with this group called Virtual Worlds, and we went and we scanned Carnegie Hall for the future.
Wow, that's fat. The deep fake stuff, Terry. Wow, I didn't realize you had your body whole scanned.
Yeah, I have several times.
Several times.
Because it gets better. You know what I mean? And
so you go back and do improvements.
I did it. The first time I did it was 5 years ago.
Wow.
And so now I did one like a year ago. And so now, and even now I got my face scanned just literally a week ago to add facial hair and all this stuff. So the technology is getting better and better and better. I remember early on in my time in Hollywood, everyone said digital will never replace film. My early movies were on film. And everyone was like, nope, digital will never make it. Hey, and it's Kodak Theater. It will always be the Kodak Theater until Kodak was gone. But see, this also reminds me, I grew up in Flint, Michigan. And everyone was like, foreign cars, they were burning foreign cars when I was a kid. There would be smokestacks, in the parking lots from the workers who were like, there will never be a foreign car in Michigan and wherever. And I saw their resistance, but while they were resisting, their factories were being closed.